Ladies and gents, as the autumn leaves turn and the air snaps back and the darkness creeps earlier and earlier, I am here for you. With no further ado, let's take our last call. Hello? Hello, are you there? Can you speak up? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. How can I help?
Oh my, I have no idea where to start. I'm Ada, by the way. I believe in proper introductions.
Thank you, Ada. You say you have no idea where to start. If I were to ask you why you called, what do you think would be your reply?
I suppose I would say that I wanted to tell my story to somebody who would believe me, unequivocally and without judgment. I want the world to know my truth before I take my own life.
Ada, please don't do this. I don't know what you're going through or what has led you to this decision, but maybe I can help you. Just stay on the phone with me?
For now, yes. Context is everything. I would say my circumstances are extremely atypical.
Okay, just keep talking to me. Sometimes taking a deep breath and engaging in reflection can relieve some of the hopelessness of whatever ails us. You said you didn't know where to start. How about the beginning, then?
I don't recall much from the beginning, which makes sense that I wouldn't remember much from before the war. The chemical smell of blood, decomposing flesh, cinders in the air from the soldiers' encampments. My first husband died. Nothing related to battle. He was too old to fight. One of the horses bucked, crushed his sternum in. Harold the horse did it.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Society often tries to impose a timeline for grief, but every person is irreplaceable, and so too every loss involves its own process of introspection and reconciliation.
You think I'm calling with him in mind? My first husband wasn't even mediocre. His teeth were rotting, he stank of whiskey, and the only reason I married him was because of the family fortune I stood to inherit, which was then denied me by my villainous mother-in-law.
All right. Maybe you're not mourning his loss, but that of somebody else, another loved one.
You ought to have used the plural. I've lived so long it would be suspect if I had only suffered one heartbreak.
Can you tell me where you're calling from? At times our environments can be triggering, and you need not use any specific names, but you mentioned a horse. Are you somewhere rural?
Ha! New York City, babe. Native New Yorker. Never lived anywhere else all my life. You'd never guess how cheap my rent is.
And the horse?
Once the cutting edge of technology in the Big Apple, a horse and buggy meant you were elite. Sounds like a load of shit now, doesn't it? Or rather, quite a few loads of shit.
Your first husband. You said he died during a war. Which war was this?
Why? It was the Civil War, although there was nothing civil about it. It's an oxymoron. Civility and war.
May I ask what year you were born in?
It's actually my birthday today. I was born in 1818. You do the math.
2 centuries ago.
The Bicentennial Woman.
Where are you in New York?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that.
Can you get somewhere safe?
I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking you to listen to me.
I am listening to you, and I believe you. But there are other options.
Did you know that I was a doctor? I attended New York University at the very end of the 19th century. Had to pretend I was a man, but I was quite adept in the art of disguise. Except there was one man who managed to discover my secret, and he was quite fond of me. I was blackmailed, a marriage in exchange for a secret kept. That was my second husband. He was far worse from the first. All the tropes of an abusive husband and a spiritualist, too. To think of how many seances he made me attend. I thanked whatever higher power may have existed when he was first drafted for the First World War and died of complications relating to trench foot.
Ada, have you been able to find love as well?
Yes, although that wasn't until much later. There was someone I'd planned to love, but they died too soon of the Spanish flu. Then the Great Depression hit and I shacked up with an almost impossibly rotund oil baron, like a ballooned-up version of the Monopoly Man. The roaring 20s had emboldened me, and I decided to stop hiding my gender. But I couldn't find a single medical practice that desired my expertise. Hence, the oil baron died from choking on a hunk of bratwurst just as we were defeating the Nazis. Somehow, of my 3 husbands, I think he was the worst. He was awfully needy for someone who was also so terribly tedious. I don't know that I had a single moment to myself over the 12 years of our marriage.
Is there nobody whom you love to keep you here with us?
There was Ruth. We met at a protest of the Korean War. She had the most gorgeous smile, like when it rains and the sun is out. She was a doctor, too. We formed a practice together, and then we fell in love. It was so simple, so easy. We had 2 beautiful children, Michael and Jeffrey.
Do you not want to live for them?
That's the problem with biological immortality. You can't extend the same immunities to others. We lost Michael first, died the day before Rock Hudson. We were only just starting to understand the scope of the AIDS epidemic. Ruth and I, we couldn't believe our son had come and gone so quickly. 21 years old.
I'm sorry.
Then, Jeffrey. We were so proud of him for becoming a firefighter, for following his dreams. He had met a terrific young woman, too. They were engaged to be married. She worked in the Twin Towers. Never made it out. He was a 9/11 first responder. He lived 4 more years before dying from thyroid cancer linked to asbestos and other debris in the air that he'd inhaled.
And Ruth?
Old age. Her body shut down. She passed in her sleep at 92 as I lay beside her, stroking her forehead.
Please don't. So much. Live for. Such a young woman.
Look, I'll admit, I have no idea what it's like to live 200 years, to see 2 centuries come and go. But there still must be something to live for, even if you don't know what that is yet. What if you had died after your 3rd marriage before you met Ruth? Think about all of the love and joys you would have missed out on.
Yes, I know, and that's the whole point. I have lived a full life now, longer than anybody else has ever lived before. As far as I can tell, my condition is anomalous. Biological immortality means there is no opportunity for a peaceful death. And I'm satisfied. I've had enough.
Ada? Please pick up, please pick up. I'm sorry, everybody. I can't seem to get through. Perhaps mortality is a greater blessing than we realized. Perhaps we're not meant to live indefinitely. I hope whatever path Ada chooses brings her peace. We're nearing the end of our time together, listeners. That can only mean one thing. It's time to give away those steak knives. Dana's been taking notes on each call tonight, and I've left the decision up to her. She's writing something down. Lucas? Who's Lucas? The baby? What's a baby going to do with steak knives? Really, Dana? I ask so little of you. Call his mother, then. I'm sure she'll be thrilled to hear from us. That's all the fight I have in me, beloved listeners. In the words of Edward R. Murrow, good night and good luck.